Hi everyone, welcome back to my next free tutorial Friday. And let's see, I think this week we're going to take a little break from the sketchbook tours. I am going to resume those. I'm trying to get a few more people lined up to come in and show their books or record those. So I like those. Those are a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun doing that with Chris and Darren. So look for a few more of those in the coming months or in the coming weeks. In the meantime, I posted this image up on my Facebook page. It's a new cover, a new background image, and a lot of people liked it. So I thought I would explain a little bit how that image was created. That was done for the book Blast. And I just checked on inventory. We're not planning on reprinting that book, so I think we're under 1,000 copies softcover left, and we only have 32 hardcovers left. So if you had it on a wish list and you wanted a hardcover, now is the time. Softcovers will last, a few more months, but anyway, just a heads up on that. So this one is kind of interesting. It's a little different than my normal process. Let's go here how it started. So I was up visiting my wife in Toronto because she was there editing a movie, and this is the view out of the hotel room. It's just over these building tops of these buildings, and you could see a really amazing sunset. And I really like the colors. And so this image all started with me sort of, hanging out in the hotel room, killing time, doing sketches, and working on my laptop. So this painting was done primarily on my laptop, and started with this color palette. And that's what I liked about it. I like this shot. I'll put a little note here about what I saw in it and how I went to the next step. Let's see. Let's go here. All right, so I sort of saw the tops of these buildings as a ground plane. Even though it's further away, the concept was to drop a ground plane here in the foreground and then, put in some sort of ship and then use this color palette, this nice glow, this golden and orange light side with this very purple gray backside that's coming from the sky. So I just wanted to do this shiny ship, and that was the basic concept. And so I dropped in a ground plane. There was a sketch I'd done, and I just dropped it in. And really all the effort in this first part was just that. And so this is the very, very first sketch, and that's maybe a quick, 10 minutes. Just trying to find the color palette and the mood and the basic composition, which was simple. It was just, I really wanted to just try and paint this color and this light. So that's where it started. And then it turned into this. And this is the final one. And I'm going to go back and show you the layers I have. Actually, we can go full res. So you can see actually it's quite scruffy. But it's mixed with some photographic elements. And I would say the ship is definitely not up to the same level of finish as the background. But you see actually the background, the photographic elements have actually also been painted over. So they've actually all been loosened up as well. And you can't really see it this close. I mean, there's definitely a photographic element there, some here, but I tried to loosen up the background to try and get it to match the painterly quality of the ship. So let's break this down into some layers, and I'll walk you through how it was made. Okay, so it started out actually looking quite different. Not the ship. I went all the way back down through these layers, and I don't have, unfortunately, a ship layer that has just a sketch. So I must have, I can't even remember, but I must have just painted over that previous one and adjusted the colors and arrived at that design loosely. This was not done for a tutorial or anything. It was just really a fun afternoon of painting and design. So I started playing around. Originally, there was the original photograph, and then I had a couple custom brushes. I was going to do some abstract buildings back there in the distance in place of those block buildings. Then I sort of ditched that idea, and I was playing around with these big sculptural mountain forms, which I took from another one of my renderings. And then I clean up the foreground, and then here's the ship, and there's the base layer. So I think what I did was just painted over it. Warmed up the color of the sun a little bit so it wasn't so orange, it's a little more yellow, and I wanted the surface finish of this to be somewhat a weathered old metallic golden kind of ship. So you'll see it's quite loose. The perspective's even loose, but it's really about trying to get that mood and light to work. And that's where I was having a lot of fun. So very early on, and this is much earlier on than I would normally do, I started putting in a color dodge layer to try and work out, this is really about rendering that light effect and that reflection of the sun. And then I start doing a cleanup pass right over the top. And that's where I start to work out the design details and a little bit of the material and definitely the form transitions and the surfacing. So my light in this case, I'll do a little schematic for you. My ship is basically kind of this ellipsoid shape. So this is wide. In fact, the cockpit here, this flat area right through here, is kind of like that, and then it tucks back to the back. So let's just draw one half. So it's just the near half of the ship. So that's kind of it in plan view. And then I saw this little wing kind of sticks out off of that. So we've got, and then I have this pointy bit up here, and this has a bit of shape to it like that as well. And then this little wing guy, there's kind of an opening here. There's two of them, but it sort of juts out towards us like this and then back like that. So if I was going to guess at the top view, it's something like that. And then the light in side view, the light is sort of like this. So it's just catching these little edges right up in here. Okay, and it's putting this whole back half through there into shadow. Right, and it's a little bit from above, so it's dropping this part also into shadow. So you can see here all in shadow, and then just catching those little edges because the light is kind of like this, raking like that. And I'm over here standing like this, and what I really wanted to try and set up was a scenario where my line of sight would bounce into this, bounce back out at an equal angle to the sun. And that's really what I was trying to do, and that's actually why I was designing those surfaces that way, was to actually give me the reflective highlight that I wanted. So it was definitely a design to support the illustration, and that was really about it. So early on, again, I'm playing again with the color dodge and trying to get that figured out. So again, out of this kind of a surface, my line of sight would bounce kind of up like that and back towards the light, slightly behind us. I'm not all the way behind us, but just off to a little bit of an angle. And so this plane right here is going to reflect the most. I think I was just drawing on my layer. Hang on, let me Command Z that back. Okay. And then it's just clean up. Once you get the big stuff set up, it's time to clean it up. And it's really just now time to refine the surfacing. And the way I do that, when I'm in here drawing like this, let's say I have a new paint layer. And you see I'm using a brush with some texture. It's probably this Danny Gardner's triangle brush again, that everybody asks for and I can't give away because it's Danny's. So don't ask. But you can ask Danny. So I would come back in here and start to just paint over the top. And then what I do is just color pick. And so as these surfaces roll away, let's add a little detail here. So I might have a little bump here that catches a little bit of light, like so. And on the back side, it would become more reflective, and it would start to reflect the color of the sky. And it could even darken down if it was nice and metallic, and where our line of sight bounces straight up, could reflect the darker part of the sky. So we could get a really, really dark purple in there, and then a little bit of this. And then depending how much it turns back to the light is how much, right, you intensify that reflection of the sun. And so if I want to flatten this and make it turn quicker and become flatter, I would make it more the color and value of the sky. So this is the sort of stuff I'll be covering, and I'm working on right now actually, is the How to Render book. I'm doing a ton of renderings for that. Mostly I'm digging through photography, 15,000 photographs, putting together a great photo library, and also trying to define and explain all the sort of phenomena that you observe with metallic surfaces and different light sources, how to cast shadows. It's really going to be a solid foundation book. It's really about foundation skills, and then how you can apply those will be the later book 2. Okay, back to this thing. Sorry, I got carried away. I was starting to paint there. Talking about one thing and painting on the ship, which is always fun. Okay, so let's look at the rest of the layers. All right, so you can see that all these are, now I usually make a new layer when I'm unsure about the design direction. And I want to test it, and I want the ability to go back. So that's why you'll see that's usually when I lay in these extra layers. So here I'm defining a little bubble on the glass. You can see it's very subtle. But right here I wanted to put a little bubble sticking off of this glass surface. So what I'm doing is just applying a little Fresnel effect around there, reflecting the environment, and then darkening a flat spot here. And then to give it a little bit of precision, I just came back in and put a nice hard edge circle. And then a couple of cut lines, I'm sure done with a path. Let's see. Yeah, there's some path. So much easier than doing those freehand. But then I tend to paint back over them freehand as well to loosen it up and make the whole piece more harmonious. There's some landing gear roughed in. And now I'm starting to work on color graphics for the ship. Now another detail pass, and you see I'm starting to put in a reflection across this. So if this is really got a little clear coat or polished smooth enough, then it starts to reflect that. So you can see that cut line reflecting back in, and then more cleanup. So like I said, this is not super precise. It's more, I would say it's more sort of mood and tone and gestural in a lot of cases, where if I just bump out something here, I'm not really thinking about the design so much as I want this effect of the light coming through here, casting a little shadow across that, picking up a little edge. So definitely the lighting is pretty loose. Some patterns over the top, some highlights for those holes. So I wanted those back edges would catch all the light as well. And then I was playing around with some background elements. So that was basically the way it was in an afternoon up in Toronto, based on that original photograph. And then I came back to the studio here, and I decided that, I like that one. I'm going to try and finish it up for the book. So this part of the painting took place here to finish it and make it a final piece for the for printing. So let's see what that looks like. Looks like there's going to be nothing underneath here because these guys, oh no, these are just, sorry. Let's go here. See what happens. Okay, so adding some more atmosphere. Now I'm starting to drop in some photographic elements from photos I've taken in different places. The shot that I took up in San Francisco Bay. And you'll see I'll use a layer mask to blend that back into the background. And here I'm not bothering with what's behind the ship, obviously, so I just wanted this part. Shot that up in Mendocino. So I'm just dropping those in, always conscious of where the horizon line is, but still it's pretty loose. Painting in some hills. Then I painted in the foreground. So I'm just color picking from the values and colors that are already there. I wanted to simplify those rocks. They were too textural. And a little bit more on the ground, lightening it up a bit. There's my paint over, loosening up the background even more. That's going to be the, I'll leave that off for a minute. Here's the ship. So the ship is now just all on one layer from the previous painting. I just flattened it all. And if I want to do any detailing, that's all just going to take place on the one layer. But it's basically, it's basically done from before. Not really any different. Trying to clean up the suspension and the landing gear and integrate it to the ground plane a little bit. Added one last little detail right up in here. One more color dodge layer to bring back those reflective highlights on the cut edges or on the cut lines. And it's probably overdone. Probably realistically it wouldn't catch that much, but that, again, that was the original goal of this, was to try and get that color palette working in that material. And then here I've added some exhaust steam, or probably steam rising out. Maybe it's just landed or cooling down and it's letting off some of this steam. And then I did this one, which was, let's say there's two of these, one on each side. So this one's going to be on the back side over there, and then here's this one on the front side. And then I dropped in a figure. I have a whole bunch of figure brushes. What I like to do is I like to sketch a bunch of figures. Let's see, I have a whole bunch here. And then I can just drop them in, and it's a really easy thing to just drop them into a shadow. And so a lot of times when I'm doing these quicker, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the character, but I just want something for scale. I'll find where the shadow area is, right, in this case just behind the ship and sort of under this and behind that, and drop him into that spot. Here's got a buddy. Let's see, I usually just use the mouse, drop him in, and then scale him after. Right, and then you can go back in and add another pass over the top if you want to start to bring in the reflection of the sky to tie them to the environment a little. Depends how large it's going to be printed. Usually I just need the silhouette, but let's zoom in here. Have a look at those guys. So you can see this is the straight silhouette. I dropped them in there from my original brush pen sketch, and have 20 of those I've done and made them all into brushes. And then I just go in and start picking the color behind my character, in this case this guy, and start reflecting that back in. Since he's all in shadow, right, he's only lit by the skylight from one side and then also the other side, and so I'm picking a little bit more of this. Any reflective elements will reflect those colors behind, and then same back over here. And that's just enough to tie him into the world, and then make sure that the feet are connected to the ground. And that works to provide scale, and there's a little ramp there to get into the back of the ship. Anyway, that's about it. I'm painting with brushes that are, have hard edges, have a little texture turned on. That gives it more of a painterly look. I'm also doing, except for that one path there, I'm doing all of these other ones freehand so that it retains that painterly look. And that gets much easier to do here on a Cintiq in the studio than it is on my laptop. But that's the basic idea, and hope that helps explain that image a little bit. And I think that's it for this week. Like I said, I'll try to get back to some more sketchbook tours with past students and fellow artists that I've worked with and have taught, and it should be a lot of fun. It's really inspirational for me as well to see those books, and glad people have enjoyed those. And I'll keep doing a few of these as I'm finishing the How to Render book. So hope that helps, and have a great week. Bye-bye.